Welcome back to NewsWire here on SportsGrid. Adam Caplan, our SportsGrid NFL insider, is with us to go over some of the results in the NFL yesterday and things moving forward as well. Adam, great to have you back here on NewsWire. Let's jump right into it with the limited time that we have you. Let's take a look at the Eagles and Browns yesterday. The Eagles, a game they absolutely had to win. The narrative this past week was, off a bye week, going to come out flying, going to come out swinging. I don't know. It kind of held serve, I guess, against the Cleveland Browns. If the Browns had any other quarterback playing in that fourth quarter, I think they may have lost this game. In fact, the Browns also lost their starting running back in this game also. But look, your record is what it is. It's the NFL. And for the first time all season long, what we thought was going to happen, Adam, happened in the NFL this week. It was the first time all season long, no huge upsets. There was almost one though with Cleveland. I thought yesterday.
Yeah, it's interesting when you look at the point spreads. I always tell Pharrell this that it starts around week 5 or 6. The first 3 or 4 weeks are really difficult to call games. I typically don't call games very well early on, and I look at the way that I picked almost every favorite, and naturally we finally had a week, as you just talked about, where the favorites won. Now I do like Philly to cover that number because, as you mentioned, Cleveland's terrible. Now, I'll say this about Deshaun Watson. He's a bad quarterback, okay? He's a bottom 5, bottom 3 quarterback. But he did make some throws yesterday. He definitely did. He was under pressure. They were down to their third. The Browns were down to their third string center. They were down actually 3 safeties for this game. So naturally, from a personnel standpoint, when you're trying to break it down, you see a huge advantage for the Eagles. Nick Sirianni is now 4-0 after the bye, but he's under fire here in Philly, man. The fans, he's getting into it, by the way. I don't know if you're aware of that. Yeah. Got into it with the fans, which is kind of embarrassing for an NFL head coach, but they found a way to win. They've got a very favorable schedule. I felt all along they'd be an 11-win team. I'm going to stick with that. I think some people believe that I'm out of my mind thinking they'll be 11 wins or more. They have one of the best schedules in the National Football League, probably the NFL's hardest last season, which would explain why they were 10-1. Then they would wind up losing 6 out of 7. But yeah, look, it's not a good division, okay? The Cowboys are absolutely terrible. We talked about them in a minute. But the Eagles are the best team and probably the NFL's weak division.
Yeah, I still am thinking Washington is going to be there in the end. I thought they played great yesterday too. But you mentioned Dallas. What's interesting, Adam, is that when we talk about the Super Bowl and people like you, people like me, and we say, give me a few teams to potentially win the Super Bowl. We start, maybe it's San Francisco and, maybe it's Kansas City. And then we reach down, maybe it's Baltimore. I mean, it's possible to say that the Lions are still an underrated team to do that, to go to. I mean, I know that the FanDuel Sportsbook would tell you otherwise, that they're about the 4th or 5th best odds to win it all. But I got to tell you, Adam, I mean, we're talking about Dallas, and I know they stink. Okay, fine. So they're going to win some. They're going to lose some. They're going to be 8-9, 9-8, 7-10, whatever they are. Yeah. Lions are great, man. Like the Lions, when they got you down, they don't stop. It's just a really impressive team. 2nd year in a row that they're doing this, and I think people should be talking about them more.
You're right. We don't, but we're gonna have to talk about him now because of the Hutchinson injury, which is devastating. He'll be out for the season. Tibia and fibula fractures. Not only is he their best defensive player, you could argue he's the best player on the football team, and not having him is devastating. They see this offseason, Craig. They talking to them about what they wanted to do with their football team. They wanted to address their defense, specifically their secondary, okay? So they started there at corner. They drafted 2 corners. So they think they've solved that issue, and by the results so far, you could agree that it was a good move. But they didn't add any pass rushers, and that's the problem now. So you take Hutchinson out of the mix, they're going to have to address the trade market. They're going to have to do it, and they're going to have to pay because I agree with you. Based on what they've done so far, Jared Goff is playing phenomenal football. Jameson Williams having a breakout season at wide receiver. Arguably the NFL's best offensive line, best running back tandem of the National Football League. Great offense, maybe the NFL's best offense. But defensively now, you take out a premium defensive player, edge rusher, a leader like Hutchinson out of that lineup, and it's going to be devastating. It's going to be hard. I always worried about their pass rush even with him. Now you take him out of the mix, it's a problem. But now the thing is, can they withstand it? That now going forward, we have to look at them differently, though. We absolutely have to look at them differently. So if you're playing future numbers now, I got to put the Niners above them. I know you look at the Niners; they're 3-3. I get that. They had a great win. They dominated the Seahawks on the road. I expect them to get better, but their issue now is getting McCaffrey back. He's still week to week. They're hoping he can practice for the next 2 weeks, but not having him is a game changer for the Niners. We all know that.
Yeah, it is. But maybe there's an edge rusher on Cleveland or Las Vegas that can make their way to Detroit at the trade deadline. I see a couple of rumors out there, but who really knows? All right, Commanders, Ravens. Washington played great, man. Like I know their defense failed in the end, but that's what happens when you go against Derrick Henry. Uh, Baltimore barely covers this number. If Washington converts on a late third down and scores a touchdown, they don't cover the number. So I take away from this, and at least listening to all the Ravens after the game, Adam, talk about the way that Washington played. I mean, they got some really high praise after this game. Ravens are once again a Super Bowl contender. Washington, I believe, is going to not only be in the playoffs, but has a chance to make some noise too.
They do. Now, look, when you get elite quarterback play, and Jane Daniels, I give him credit. It is so hard as a rookie to play in Baltimore. This is not a vintage Baltimore defense or secondary is a problem. But when you really look at Washington's issues, it's putting talent around Daniels, right? Not a great offensive line. They need help with opposite McLaurin. That's going to be something we'll address in the offseason. Not a lot of talent on defense, but they play super hard with great energy. Knowing Dan Quinn a little bit, it doesn't surprise me with the energy that they play. It's been a great story. They're fun to watch. It's funny when I had to pick the game on Friday, or I guess it was Thursday. It was 6.5. I'm like, man, I think it's going to be close. I'm going to lean towards Baltimore because I can't see Washington upsetting Baltimore in Baltimore for Daniel's first time there. I just don't see it happening. But they play their butts off. I agree with you. It's a good call. They're very, very competitive. And look, would it surprise me if they won the NFC East? No. But this team's kind of in a not a rebuild, but they're in a retooling of that roster with the Commanders.
Yeah, still favorites, by the way, to win the NFC East. They'll play Philly in that thing.
Ooh.
Yeah, plus 120. That'll get worked out. The two will play each other, and then that'll be determined. Any lean on tonight's game at all? I've been pretty strong on the Jets here. I feel like you fire a coach, and players just all of a sudden say, "See, it was him."
100%. I heard you on the segment before I came on here. You and I are thinking the same thing. I felt that way as soon as it was changed.
Me too.
They made a change, and I expected him to post a ton of energy tonight. Yeah.
All right, Adam, thanks.